Okay. People were about to like this. We're good? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Douglas Welton. Welcome to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Planning Commission session for January, what day is it? January 8th, 2024. It's a lovely day. We've all gathered here at the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Government Center, 400 East 4th Street. We're up in room 267. For the public and the media, you can view this meeting. It's being streamed live on the Planning, Design, and Development Department's webpage. This is our first meeting of the year, and we're going to begin this meeting by introducing our commissioners who are here with us today. And we're going to begin to my left with Commissioner Shaw.
Erin Shaw, Planning Commission.
Andrew Blumenthal, Planning Commission.
Shauna Neely, Planning Commission.
Rebecca Wilden, Planning Commission.
Rick Winiker, Planning Commission.
Teresa McDonald, Planning Commission.
Terry Lansdale, Planning.
Robin Stewart, Planning Commission.
Thank you, commissioners. We're going to now do introductions of the staff that are at the dais here with us, and we'll begin with Director Craig.
Allison Craig, Planning Director.
Monica Holmes, Deputy Director.
Yolanda Jones, Planning Staff.
Al Knight, Planning Staff.
Thank you, everyone. We've got a good meeting for you today. Hopefully, we're going to have fun, get educated. We've got the Charlotte Urban Design Center is going to present something with us a little bit later. And we're also going to hear about the latest UDO campus text amendment that's going to be coming through. Before we get started, I'm going to ask for an approval of the December work session minutes. And those were sent to you in your packet this past Thursday, Friday, something like Thursday. Let me not let those people that send out the packet are the finest people on the planet. Do I hear a motion for the disposition of our work session minutes?
Wilden, motion to approve.
Neely, second.
It's been moved by Wilden and seconded by Neely. I almost said the other one. All those in favor of approval of the minutes in this motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes with no nayness attached to it. We have a couple of things that are coming up, and I want to take this moment just to emphasize those. On Wednesday from 3 to 7, we are doing Urban Plan. This is something that's been set up as a partnership between the Planning Commission, the Urban Land Institute, it's their work, and the Planning Department. We've had, I want to say, a good thank you to Yolanda Jones and Al Knight and to Candace for helping coordinate all this stuff. But I wanted to introduce to you Ariel DiDonato, who is with the Urban Land Institute. And Ariel, if you'll just stand and say hi. Do you want to say anything?
Really looking forward to everyone who's participating on Wednesday. It's a really great learning experience.
Yeah. And to say thank you to the Urban Land Institute, those folks who've helped us out. Come on over, Ariel. This is the fun part. We have toys. Ariel, along with Teresa Burnett, help get this thing set up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take those all back. And there's like $1 million in there, I think. Whatever. Okay. It could be $1 million, but it could maybe not be.
No, you're not supposed to transport cash in this building.
Oh, okay. If I allegedly commit a crime, I know that I will come and find you. But we're looking forward to Wednesday's urban plan session. We've got a couple of city council members who are going to be joining us. We've got a couple of county commissioners who are going to be joining us. We have folks from the Park and Rec Commission and also the Bike Advisory Group joining us. And so, and a number of staff folks as well. Do we have 3 or 4 staff folks, I believe? I can't remember. I've seen the list and I think there are 21 of us. So this should be a good session. for us to do. Urban Plan for Public Officials is there to help us understand and help those people who take the class understand the trade-offs that are involved with land use and development. And I think that that's going to be a useful thing in terms of helping break down some of the silos that kind of cause us challenge here in Charlotte from time to time. And one more announcement is regarding, we have several folks who aren't here today. And attendance policy, we talked about this last month. We are now in the fun part where we get to have excused absences. So I just want us to all be aware of that. I'm going to ask Yolanda to read the attendance policy to you guys one more time, because I got a text last night and it's like, I'm not feeling well. What do I do? Is it the time or whatever? So Yolanda, if you'll just read that off to us and make sure we all hear it one more time.
Absolutely. So this is the City Council Resolution on Boards and Attendance Policy. It was adopted August 28th of 2023, and it is effective this month. So as of January 1st. Subcommittee attendance for the attendance policy that evaluates 3 consecutive absences, annual attendance of 65%, or reappointment attendance of 75%. Subcommittee meetings should no longer be considered, and special meetings called of the entire board or board events, however, should still be considered as per usual for usual attendance. Excused absences. This is section 5 of the attendance policy. Excused absences shall not count towards the 65% attendance requirement. Members shall be permitted to up to 3 excused absences per calendar year in the following circumstances: illness or medical related absences, funerals and or bereavement, the birth or adoption of the board member's child for 90 days after the birth or adoption, and military service. Excused absences requests should be formally made in writing via email to both the city clerk and the board's staff advisor, which will be Candace. In her absence, it would be me. Within 1 week of the date of the missed meeting prior or following. Any absence that does not meet the above criteria shall be considered unexcused. The allowance for excused absences shall not apply to meetings of a board, committee, or other commission that serves as a quasi-judicial function or engages in final decision-making. Subcommittee meetings should no longer be considered. Special meetings called of the entire board or board events, however, should still be considered as usual for attendance.
Thank you, ma'am. So as we all noted last month, Brick was not here because he was pregnant. And so that would be an actual excused absence, I think, if it had occurred this year or this month, but you are no longer, I think, pregnant.
No, but we'll see.
Okay,
We'll see what
thank you.
2024 brings.
Yeah, it's always good to be open to new ideas and things of that nature. Again, hopefully that makes everything a little bit easier for folks to as we go forward through the year. So we'll begin with our new business, as they would say. Wait a minute, I feel like I have one more thing I have to say. Oh yeah, remember Candace, the person that was here before Yolanda? She leaves, we forget. She had her baby, and the new baby is Douglas, by the way. That's the name.
The new baby is Dawson.
His name Douglas. And anyway, I think there's a picture that if you would like to see what this baby looks like, I think Yolanda would be willing to share the picture of Candace's baby. We will not put it up on the screen because nobody needs to be on social like a week or two after they're born. Not really. All right, let's get our meeting started, everyone. And we're going to get started back in, well, what was it? October? October. I got to talk to the Civic Leadership Academy's class that the city of Charlotte runs. And one of the speakers in that particular adventure was Will Linville. And he gave us, at that time, a great talk about urban design. And I thought that was something that we could really use here in terms of understanding, last month's homework was Happy City. And I hope you all read the book or at least watched the video. I tried to listen to the book on tape. Not going to say that was a success, but hey, we tried. But anyway, Will Linville is here and Aaron Chantry is here. And Aaron, what's your title now? Okay. These folks are going to give us a wonderful introduction. Aaron, are you going first? You're standing up. Okay. I didn't know if you guys had arm wrestled to see who was going first. I would have put my money on you, Aaron. Everybody, Aaron Chantry.
Thank you, everyone. I'm kind of short. Hopefully y'all can see me over the monitor. I'm just going to give you a quick introduction to the Urban Design Center and the work that we do, just to put everything you're going to hear from Will about urban design and what makes great urban design in context here at the City of Charlotte. So just quickly, who we are, we're 7 professionals, all with different degrees and training in the list you see here. We're a multidisciplinary team that works in the built environment. Our mission is to advance the quality of Charlotte's built environment and bring public awareness to the importance of urban design. We reveal how design influences the quality of life, economic resilience, and advocates for great public spaces in the livable city. So the work that we do is really to fulfill this mission. If you're not aware of our location, we're located in the south end at the Bland Station light rail stop at 1507 Camden Road. We're now open by appointment during the week from 10 to 3, and we have monthly programming and events, which I'll tell you a little bit about later. All of our work focuses on our three areas: consultancy, urban design consultancy, our placemaking program and our placemaking work, and the studio, which I just showed you. So I'm just going to focus a little bit on our work, kind of big picture. So one of the main initiatives that we work on is our Corridors of Opportunity program. These are our 6 corridors. I'm sure you've heard of them. These are all in different phases. We lead the planning work for the playbooks in the corridors and focus on implementation work through public space, placemaking, preserving, retaining culture and identity. Silver Line and Transit, we're very involved in our transit work from the design of the line, but more importantly for our team and our work in urban design is how the line integrates into the built environment and the context around it, and a lot of the design criteria. So we just wrapped up the urban design framework, which is really creating design guidelines around how the rail hits the ground in station areas and along other important areas of walkable areas where the line is visible. We just kicked off our ETOD work, our equity transit oriented development work. And so we are going to be leading community engagement to develop strategies to ensure affordable housing and the preservation of character in small business and station areas as the Silver Line comes on board. We're also involved in the rail trail work and some station work. We have spent time doing a lot of testing in support of the UDO. Will is very involved in the rezoning process. We work hand in hand with our other team in our division, Historic Districts Commission, on our neighborhood character overlays in that process. We are integrated into the area planning work that our department's doing for focus areas. And we're starting to collect data and analysis of neighborhoods threatened by displacement through our pattern book work. Just a quick look at placemaking. We have our placemaking grant, community grant, which opens this month. This is for anyone in the City of Charlotte limits to apply to do their own placemaking project. We focused a lot on the Urban Arboretum Trail, which is a project that reconnects neighborhoods divided by highways and public spaces along those. And really a project I'm very excited about is revamping our placemaking hub. That is the tools and processes which allow us to do all of our placemaking work. And we are kind of reimagining the next generation of the hub, which will go live next year. I've mentioned our studio. We have communication tools that we released last year, including our blog and our newsletter. We have our Urban Design Awards, which you are invited to every year. This celebrates the best urban design in the city and is a wonderful way to learn more about, the most successful projects as far as urban design in Charlotte. And of course, we're on social media and we have our events. So I invite you to join us this year. We had 15 events and opportunities to come to the studio last year. We're expanding that this year and we'll be hosting events open to the public every month. So we're excited to have you at the studio. The first one will be this month, January 18th. We're going to be screening The Social Life of Small Urban Spaces, which is a fabulous documentary that looks at how people just in their human nature use public space and choices that they make subconsciously, and how the design of public spaces can respond to that. We'll have 3 people join us who activate public space and understand how to create bring to life public space and what that takes, as a panel discussion following. So certainly do invite you. And then in February, we're going to be having our first Coffee and Conversations event, and we're going to be speaking about creating place in the suburbs. Chris Thomas of Childress Klein and Amy Bazanzon, I think I'm saying that correctly, as the Director of Design at Crescent Communities, will be joining us. And most excitingly, we have an espresso cart. So when you come, you will actually get complimentary, high quality espresso and lattes. So please do join us for these 2 events to kick off the year. And this is just, sorry?
That was 8 a.m.
It is 8 a.m. Yes, it is in the morning, just before work. So if that's a little too early, no worries. We'll have many opportunities to engage this year.
I'm saying nothing, just clarify.
Well, that's where the free coffee comes in, Okay. You're welcome. I do encourage everyone to scan this QR code. This is where you can sign up for our newsletter and everything, all the events, our placemaking grant, everything is communicated through that. So please do engage with us. Come by the studio, join us for the Urban Design Awards when you get the invitation. The placemaking grant, like I said, opens this month. It's a wonderful thing to share with your communities and many opportunities there. So I will leave this up and then Will will talk to you a little bit more about quality urban design.
Thank you, Aaron.
Sorry. I don't know what I'm doing.
It'll go away.
It'll go away and then I can see.
It'll go away.
Okay. Cool. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Will Linville. I see some familiar faces. It's been a while since I've interacted with Planning Committee and Zoning Commission, but it's good to see you here today. And I'm happy to be here and talk to you about the Urban Design Center and urban design more specifically. So here's a question for you. What is urban design? In the interest of time, I won't go around the table and ask you all. But at its most basic, urban design is a multidisciplinary vocation. And I think you probably started to understand that whenever Aaron was going over the staff that we have there at the Urban Design Center. We have trained architects, planners, folks that have studied landscape architecture. And when you get to the middle of that diagram, that's where you start to see the basics of urban design. Yeah.
Go.
Okay. So I'm going to take you out our front door for a second to help you see what this kind of looks like in the built environment. So this is right in front of our office on Camden Street. And I love this. I personally love this view and feel really lucky to be able to walk out and see this every day. So this is, what you're seeing here is Camden Curve, and you see the tall buildings in the background. And if I were to take this further and start the diagram on top of this, this is what urban design is all about. And it's, sorry, froze up. Yeah, that's okay. I can talk through that. Let's see if the mouse helps. Absolutely. Yeah, it's spinning. So if we were to go to the next slide, you would see a beautiful diagram with lots of bright colors that starts to discuss what the public realm is, and that these are the areas that we as urban designers are most focused on. So you will see. I don't know what's going on. You will start to see. Yeah. It will, yeah. So on the diagram, you would see on both sides of Camden, you start to see that we're interested in the edges of buildings, you know, the first 2 stories. Those are the 2 stories that folks are really paying attention to when they're walking down the sidewalks. The levels of transparency as you walk along the sidewalk, the street trees, the seats, the amenity zone, right? The bike lanes, all those things contribute to the public realm and to a really lovely built environment. So urban design is also not only a study of the existing built environment, but the shaping of a community's future physical form through inclusivity. It's about making connections to people and places and understanding that the forms of our cities really affect how we feel. It draws together the many elements of placemaking, environmentalism, social equity, and economic resilience into places with a distinct beauty and identity. And it's also a way to inspire, illustrate, and define how places could be improved or protected to bring benefits to the entire community. Next slide. Yeah, no problem.
Our hamster's weak.
Spin it, yeah.
In the meantime, we've also been joined by Commissioner Russell. Thank you.
It's okay. I almost have this presentation memorized, but I'm not going to chance it. That's okay.
So fancy, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. There we go. Okay, so perfect. I just discussed what urban design is, and so how do we do that as urban designers? So fact finding is obviously very important. We lost it again, huh?
I would just take it out of present mode and that'll save it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, fact finding, engaging with the community members, being illustrative. So urban designers love to diagram. That's why this is crashing probably. That's why this presentation is crashing. You know, diagrams, sketches, models, allowing folks to understand how the built environment or, you know, proposals can feel in space, tactical placemaking, and also we love to celebrate great places through our Urbies and other work. Let's see here. And here's an example of some of the diagrams we do and the placemaking work that we do on a daily basis. Perfect. Oh, lovely. Yeah, I don't want to touch it again. Perfect. So here's what we look for in the built environment. These are the top 10 urban design elements. How many of you did maybe read a little bit of Happy Cities? Show of hands more than I thought. Yeah, perfect. I'm really excited that you read it, and that's I think whenever we had that presentation in October, I was fresh off of reading it for the second time, so I found a lot of inspiration from that book. But these, if you remember, the TED Talk, Charles Montgomery references oxytocin, which is the happy hormone, right? And so, like for you to think about these top 10 urban design elements as the things that enhance the built environment and create spaces that make folks happy. So the first one is streets and streetscapes. So what we look for as streets and streetscapes are the elements that create complete streets, which is the sidewalk and ped zone, the amenity zone, which was where you typically have your planting strip, your trees. In the case of this, you'll have tree grates or tree islands for street trees. You have your seats, places for trash, your street lights, and then on-street parking also does a really good job of traffic calming and ensures a complete street. And then travel lanes, but not just travel lanes for cars, but travel lanes for scooters, for bikes, and things of that nature. We also are really interested in the provision of sidewalks. I think that's sort of a no-brainer, right? But widths vary, right, depending on the level of intensity that it's next to. 6 to 16 feet. I think after COVID, we really learned that the width of our sidewalks probably a little narrower than we had all wished to keep social distancing. So the width of sidewalks is really important in creating a level of comfortability as you travel across or beside the street. Connections. So to create a really enhanced built environment, connecting entrances to other amenities in the sidewalk is a super important element. And what this picture is showing is an urban design trick where you start to raise the entrances off of the sidewalk to create a level of privacy and a level of comfortability for the folks that are living immediately adjacent to the public right of way. Next slide. Can you freeze up again? Perfect. And so active edges and street walls. So this also goes to that TED Talk that Charles Montgomery had, where starts to sort of quantify the level of people's anxiety as they walk beside blank walls, right? So creating active edges and active street walls is very important in creating a sense of place, right? So what you see here in this picture are low sill heights for your windows, lots of transparency, lots of active uses, the outdoor seating, the planters, all of that contribute to an activated street edge and a more improved built environment. Building entrances. This is really an easy one. I think this is the Harris Teeter on Central. I may be wrong, but building entrances should always be prominent, easy to find. This one does a really good job of that. And height and mass, so we should always be paying attention to the height and mass of buildings, especially as it relates to context. I think we'll talk about height transitions, but the height and mass of buildings is important and how it interacts with the street and interacts with surrounding uses. What you can do, and one of the tricks that urban designers and architects use to break up long buildings into small buildings is start to push and pull in the elevation, right? We see that in our code now, where you're required to provide recesses, but it's a good way to, especially I think this is a multifamily building. Imagine townhomes on the other side. It's a good way to start to make the different building typologies match, and also provide places for public space. Looks like we lost a few. Goodness me. This is so the next one was height transitions. So you can think about you want to make sure that your height transitions. So I think the picture we had was on 7th Street at the Langston. Is anybody familiar with that multifamily building there? That building does a really good job. I think I think that home's still there now on the corner, right? But that's where you start to see the height not going above, 2 stories more than what's currently there, right? So what's great about our new ordinance, right, is that when you're against our N1 place types or zoning districts, you have to start to taper, right? You have those building setbacks built into the code, and that allows for more contextual height transition. The last one, I think there was one after that, but the last one is open space, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been up to, but open space is important because one, it's a way to improve and create those social connections between people, but it's also very important to provide to a city at whole. Okay. So the other one is building placement. Really simply there, you want buildings pulled to the street, right? And that goes into where we like to see our parking as a city as well, at least as urban designers, right? You do not ever want to see parking between the building and the sidewalk. You'd like that to be to the side or to the back of the buildings. And then, yeah, as far as, wrap parking goes, you always want to see an active use on the ground floor. So with that, let's go to the next slide. I'm going to talk to you about three or so projects that we've been working on. Aaron touched on these a bit, but this first map is showing the work that the Urban Design Center has been involved in over the past 5 years along the Beatties Ford Road corridor. So if you start from left and go right, you have 5 Points Plaza, then the Ritz in the middle there, a couple smaller placemaking projects that are still in the works. One has been completed, but the concentric circles there is a new crosswalk pattern that the community designed, which is reminiscent of the history of the Excelsior Club. So you can see the record player with the what's the thing called? The needle?
The needle.
Yeah, right.
It's on an arm.
Right. So in maybe 6 months or so, you'll see that at the intersection of Beatties Ford Road and LaSalle, which is pretty exciting. The bottom one is a fence mural, and then the one on the right is the front lawn, sort of the reimagining of the front lawn in front of Allegra Westbrook's Regional Library. And so, we can go to the next one. That's a project that's been going on since I started the Urban Design Center. It's been really lovely to see it get to the point that it's at now. This was identified through the placemaking and master plan process that occurred a few years ago. It was led by Aaron Chantry. That identified 4 big projects for the Beatties Ford Road community, and this was one of them. So we're partnering with the community and the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library System. They graciously allowed us to essentially tear up their front yard to create a space for people. You can see that in plan view there, where we have designed a deck and seating, movable seating. We transplanted that tree on the left from the banks of the Catawba River. That's a 20-year-old oak tree to provide permanent and natural shade. It was a really great experience to see that go in. And so this type of work, it seems like, at least since I've been there, the Urban Design Center typically does one of these spaces, every 18 months or so. And so it's exciting to do things like this and provide these spaces for community and design with them, and to provide spaces that they're going to use. The next slide goes into a little more detail about our urban design framework. So Aaron did a good job of explaining what the UDF tries to accomplish. Why I bring this one up is just to focus in on sort of our consultancy work, and the work that we do interdepartmentally. So this is ultimately a CATS document that we created with them and for them. We completed it a few months ago. So back up a little bit, the Blue Line originally was a Blue Line extension had an urban design framework that looked at similar things. You know, where could you find where's the potential for art? How could you elevate spaces and soften hard edges, you know, on your vertical elements for your light rail? And so this this particular version took a more equitable approach. So we developed a sort of a scenario mapping tool where you started to overlay the context along the line. So your existing place types, speed, proximity to centers, things of that nature, to help identify where you started to need to elevate your design, right? So we broke those into 3 tiers: standard design, tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 2 is typically going to be around your station areas and some of your elevated elements around your densest place types, a couple places in Uptown, I think a couple places in Matthews as well. And it also offered us an opportunity to start to diagram out ideas around the activation of public space, how and where you place trees, you know, next to catenary systems and in parking lots. And so this will not be a forward-facing document. It's a document primarily for designers, but we were excited to partner with CATS and provide this this document for them. And then the last one focuses in on our corridors work. We completed the North Grand North Tryon corridor playbook in about a year ago, I suppose. And so that was a really, where we started to re-envision the playbook process and how long it should take and things of that nature. So what's exciting about this document is that the process was really 6 months from kickoff to completion. We were able to interact and engage with with stakeholders and residents to develop a really robust plan that identified around 60 projects and programs to fund that would be most impactful to the community there. This one also won an honorable mention at APANC in the fall, which is exciting. So yeah, those are three of the projects that kind of focus in on our open space design with community work and our consultancy work. Apologies for the problem with the PowerPoint, but I'm happy to take questions. Aaron and I both can take questions if you have them.
We'll send out to you guys too, the full.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Slides that are missing.
We'll pull out the
Oh,
problem
yeah,
slide.
Yeah, you'll get it, and then you can follow.
Thanks, Will.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks, Aaron. Commissioners, do we have any questions for these two? If not, I have the gauntlet for the last, but anybody? Oh, Will, Commissioner Russell. It's a Will-O-Rama here today, by the way.
Wills are awesome. For Aaron and my namesake Will. So just want to preface this by saying we all know that Charlotte is a growing city, 15th largest in the country, is projected to continue growing at an astronomical rate. But in the process of bringing more people, there's also going to have to be a densification that occurs in certain parts of the city. And what I've noticed is that a lot of the placemaking projects have been centered within a few miles of Uptown. But there are some places that are in the further reaches that are really starting to urbanize and densify. So what plans have you guys made to start doing some more placemaking activity that's further removed from Uptown in places where a lot of people are going to start being packed in very quickly?
Yeah, so maybe should we sit over here? Yeah. A lot of our work recently has focused around our Corridors of Opportunity program. However, some of our very first city-led placemaking projects, as you know, the Green at Prosperity Village was the very first open space that we enhanced in Charlotte. And our community planning grant is citywide. So we always ensure through which projects we award every year, that those are spread out citywide in every council district. Because you're right, I mean, great design is important everywhere. And it brings, place to new places that are developing, which is why we're going to be talking about that at Coffee and Conversations. It also is really important when you're looking at higher density areas and the success of those, and how that density is integrated into the built environment, and design is an important part of that. So we are always hoping to expand our work throughout the city through funding. But the main way we do that right now is through our placemaking grant. So please, I mean, if you sign up for our newsletter and look at our website, which is charlottenc.gov/urban design, you'll be able to get all notifications about our placemaking grant there, and really do encourage people in your communities to apply. Hey.
Best areas like the north end, focus on, and we left those. Will will be all right. He'll be all right. Thank you very much.
He's got a very nice part, a little open space.
There
Aaron, I apologize if you touched on this at the beginning, but how is the organization funded or governed? Is it directly through the city or otherwise?
Yes, so we are funded through our the City of Charlotte budget. Also, we apply for a lot of different grants. So the project at the library is funded by the Knight Foundation. We've also won 2 Lowe's hometown grants as well, that has also funded 2 other projects.
Great, thank you.
Just to be really clear, the Urban Design Center is a part of the Design and Preservation Division, which is in one of the 8 divisions in the planning department.
Yeah.
So just
Great, thank you. That's helpful.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Stewart, and then I'll get Lansdale, and then I'll get McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Will. Hi, Aaron. Great presentation. I was curious, as you went through the top 10 sort of elements of urban design, a lot of those are elements that I think sort of developed organically in cities, raised entrances and the cities or the sidewalk scape. Like, how much of urban design is pushing back against developers who want to maximize square footage? And if that weren't a consideration, a lot of this might happen organically.
So when you say pushing back against develop, can you expand a little bit what you mean by that?
Well, breaking up long blocks of similar looking apartment buildings is more expensive.
You're right.
A developer might just say, I'm going to build to the maximum square footage allowable. And as I think about some of the elements, in the mid 1800s in New York, they were building townhouses with raised front doors to give a sense of privacy, presumably. Like, a lot of that is human psychology happening without consciously perhaps doing it. And I'm just curious if you think about it that way or I'm way off.
Oh, no. You're 100% right. Like, urban design is a vocation that really came to fruition in the 80s, right? Like, it used just to be common sense in how we build our cities. So you're 100% correct about that. Urban design in itself is really a response to some of the unintended consequences that came along with zoning and the separation of uses, right? So when the city became more dependent on the automobile, in turn, the city reflected people less. And some of the details that we're talking about and what makes great urban design is really details that reflect the use of cities by people. And so that is why, when we're talking about the raised stoop or covered entrances or entrances right on the street, entrances were right on the street because people were on the sidewalk and walked inside, right? They didn't need to walk from their car to the building, right? So a lot of this is now, urban design is really responses to unintended consequences of what happened to the city when we introduced the car. And it's really about turning the design of the city back to people. And it's really its highest generalization. So that's why we talk about these things. And that's why we advocate for these as a city, and our department, because some of them got lost. A good design got lost over the decades as cities became more about cars instead of people.
I would also say to you that our job has gotten a little easier, at least my job, from sitting in rezoning meetings, right? We've got a new shiny ordinance that that now requires many things on that list that maybe were negotiated previously on a conditional plan, right? So, you know, provision of open space is a couple of things that's required out of that now. You know, height transitions, sometimes that was, you know, maximizing buildable footprint and things like that. That was always probably the most contentious conversation, is when you asked a developer to limit height or to start to add recesses to buildings, you know, usable, meaningful recesses for public space or whatever the case may be. So that's really a testament to a lot of the hard work that went into that, the team that sits behind you.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lansdale.
And mine's going to be quick and easy. I tried to find the Link Silverline Urban Design Framework PDF. Can't seem to find that. So when you send out your presentation, maybe you'll have that in there as well, or a shared link for that.
Yeah, sure.
Commissioner McDonald.
I had a question, if you can just help me understand if the department is intended kind of as a resource to community, to individuals, small developers, to improve their ideas for development that they may have. I think that's enough. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of the reason why we're doing programming at the studio every month is really to educate about urban design and bring talking about what makes great urban design to multiple communities: the general community, the development community, the design community, the academic community. And so that is really the intention behind that and our communications. I think our office hours that are available by appointment, we've had a couple of people who have been interested in, I have this property, how should I develop it? I'm thinking about this, what do you think about that? And so we're really trying to open our doors. We have a wonderful gift in being located where we are, right on the light rail, to be able to really be a resource for the community. So yes, you're 100% right. We're really hoping to bring urban design to the forefront of conversation in Charlotte.
Anyone else? All right, I have a couple, but mostly they've already kind of been taken up, I suppose. And just to tag on to what Commissioner McDonald just said, is there a concerted effort for you guys to reach out to the development community? Because it just seems to me that, you know, folks oftentimes they approach development, you know, this is the way we've always done it. And because you've always done it that way isn't a great excuse for going forward. And they may not be aware of some of the principles that Will has laid out and that the Design Center can bring to the table. Do you guys have a concerted effort for reaching out to the development community?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, the programming that we're doing is very much targeted to the development community.
Mm-hmm.
Will is involved on behalf of urban design in the rezoning process. And so he's very integrated into the development community that way. Of course, Will also mentioned the UDO, which was very much in tangent with the development community too, that addresses a lot of what makes great urban design. So I would say it's a multifaceted kind of approach. But us specifically at the Urban Design Center and our programming and our events and through our grant, that is quality urban design is something that we're promoting in every single time we touch the community.
Okay, thank you. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring this presentation to the commission is because when we're doing rezonings, commissioners have the opportunity to interact with developers when they're at that place where if we bring something up, an issue up, we can get some pushback, and sometimes we get wins from this. And so for all of you who are on zoning and will ever be on zoning, I would love it if you would take to heart some of the things that have been brought up here, Because I do believe, and I've seen it myself, when you push back on one or two items, and sometimes it's just really small item that they've just not thought of, you can get some changes done in terms of getting better urban design. Couple other questions here on my list is rail trail for the Silver Line. This is just, for years, I rode my bicycle down the rail trail in South End, probably for 10 years. The rail trail is not wide enough because people have their patios right on the rail trail and they let their dog out in front of me when I'm going not 0 miles an hour. And so I'm just saying, if you guys want to make Douglas happy on the new Silver Line when it arrives any minute now, that perhaps that might be a consideration. So this is all about me. All right.
You got it. No, take it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how wide. I'm thinking that the rail trail in South End is 12 feet wide, maybe.
Yeah, I believe so, around there, maybe a little wide. It varies in width.
Yeah.
along the
Yeah.
way.
I'm thinking between Remount and Tremount, that's like 12 feet wide. And that's where the dogs and I have had conflagrations. I guess that would be a good way to put it. Yeah.
Well, that's
Anyway.
like what you're talking about, right? Like that transition, the transition zone between
Yeah.
public and private
Yeah.
is another element of urban design that's really important, right? So when that stoop is 3 feet off the ground, that's a transition, right?
Yeah.
And when that patio is 4 feet back or 3
It's
feet
not.
back instead of right on the trail, right?
Yeah.
Those are all elements and details of
Yeah,
urban design.
I don't even know if there's 1 foot of transition space in there.
Right.
The developer's taken all that. And last question, you guys have done work on the Silver Line, but as we know, the Silver Line is moving forward at a pace that can be described as, well, not that zippy. How much more work are you guys going to do on the Silver Line, or have you done your part and you're done for now?
No, I mean, we continue to be involved. So there's been a lot of planning work that's gone into it, but we're at 30% design right now. Laura on our team is very much integrated into the design team, reviewing all of the plans for urban design elements. So we will continue to be involved.
Okay. All right. Anybody? Commissioner McDonald.
Yeah, I was reminded of a few things during the last discussion. I wanted to ask about the red line, the funding that has been provided to study the red line again. Are you guys part of that? The other one went out of my head, sorry. but
No
the
worries.
Red line.
I can't answer questions about the funding of the red line. But when it comes to it, when it gets to the planning phase, we will, I'm sure, be involved.
Yeah, basically, just to explain a little bit, the planning department has representation on all major transit projects. So that includes the Gold Line extension and the Red Line work. So we work with them at different levels. So I have a standing meeting with their leadership team, and then we make assignments based on where they are in the project timeline. So the Red Line, for example, is getting ready to go through like the next phase of study. And so we'll have a representative from planning, likely someone from urban design and someone from the long range planning team, kind of meeting with them and working with CATS when they need to see how it fits into the greater picture, when they need urban design advice. We have that partnership.
Anyone else have questions? If not, I think we will give a heartfelt round of applause to Ms. Chantry and Mr. Linville. Thank you all, and go visit them, and we'll have you guys back sometime soon. I'm going to make a slight detour in our agenda, and this is only going to take a minute, and I'm going to ask Alicia to come up. You guys will have gotten, let's see, last week, the Community Area Planning Quarterly newsletter came out, and at the very bottom of that newsletter, there was a call for images. And so I'd just like Alicia to talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to make an ask of everybody on the commission. So this is, we're going off script, people.
Completely off script, but thank you for the opportunity, Commissioner Welton. In our quarterly newsletter, as he mentioned, for the community area planning, we send something out to make sure, as part of our engagement strategy, that folks are aware of where we are in the process and how they can participate. And one of the there's always a call to action in each one of the newsletters, and this one is a request for images. We're in 14 different geographies, and we'd love to have pictures of each one. We could hire someone, but that would be a little bit not good use of taxpayer dollars to go all the way around the city. And so we're asking for residents and would like for you all as well to help us with curating a gallery of images for each one of the geographies. If you're out on a Saturday or any other time, just during your daily life, just take a snapshot and send those to our email address, charlottefuture2040.com. I think that's the email address in the newsletter. We'll send a follow-up, but we love for you all to help us and to participate in that process in generating or curating a photo gallery for our documents for the planned geographies.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
Does that make sense to everybody? Does everybody actually in here lives in one of the geographies, correct? I'm not asking you to drive all over town. I'm asking you to leave your home, right? And hell, go outside and just take 20 pictures of your house if that's all you really want. But one of the easy ways for us to contribute to the community area planning process is for you to go out and wherever you're going to do your stuff on any given day, take, 5 or 6 pictures. It is, again, I will cut this part out of the email and resend it to each of you after this meeting. But all you got to do is upload your pictures and we will have contributed. And so I'm hopeful that we can, add 100 pictures to this party. And it should be relatively simple. You all know how to use your cameras, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen selfies of you people. Mostly you know how to use your camera, some maybe not. Thank you all, and hopefully we can contribute to that. Now we're on to our next topic, which is UDO text amendment. And Laura Harmon's going to take us through this. And she's got her backup dancers are over in the corner here, just in case we need to you remember when Madonna came down the stairs in the dress, and these guys are the people who are right behind her. Whatever. What's so sad is I knew people that were on that stage. But we're going to talk about UDO text amendments.
Great, thank you. Now I see how.
And Yolanda, can we get like a little step thing so that people can be seen behind the podium in the future? I mean, I'm just for the room, if we can get one, that would be good. It's always nice to actually see people talking.
I know how Aaron felt earlier. Thank you. I want to give you guys an overview of where we are on text amendments real quickly, and then focus on the campus zoning district text amendment that will be coming to zoning committee in a few months. So, and
Way too excited.
as we get started, I want to recognize Kevin May and Alan Goodwin, who have worked on this, and also they're not here today, but a lot of good feedback from Solomon Fortune and Lisa McCarter in our land development group. So you can see we have a growing list of text amendments. We have, at this point, have 5 that have been approved. I won't go through them again. 1 that was denied, but we did take a piece of that one and brought it back through approval. We have our second cleanup text amendment that will be on the decision agenda for council next Monday. And we have our campus zoning district that was filed on the very last workday before Christmas. This is our biggest text amendment to date. And so we wanted to make sure you guys were aware of it and what's going on in it. Where we're going from here, we will continue to have quarterly cleanup text amendments. We're already working on the third text amendment, cleanup text amendment, the work for text amendment for council's duplex, triplex referral, potential text amendment being led by Allison. And we also know that we will be having at some point a conservation development standards text amendment. So on to campus, the campus zoning districts text amendment. Just to remind you guys, this is to respond to the campus place type. This is an area where we have a goal for the large multi-building institutions and or concentrations of office and research development uses. So you can see there are a range of different types. Well, you'll see particularly in a minute, a range of different types of campuses and formats, but we do have that mapped on the place type map, policy map. And you can see here, it is the teal color. And this is on the right, an example of where we have this mapped out in the UNC Charlotte area and the University Research Park. And to date, we have 4 zoning districts to address the range of conditions that we find with campus. We have 2 institutional campus zoning districts. These are where we have large-scale institutional uses, government, educational, medical, social service, continuum of care, and religious. And these, you might think of an example of say, well, actually we have some examples to show you that in a minute. We have a more suburban form and a more urban form, and the supportive uses that go with those. We also have an office flex campus zoning district, which are larger scale office research and medical, maybe some light assembly. And this is more like some of our existing office parks. And then we have a research campus zoning district, large scale research campuses in a mixed use environment and in a very urban format, taller structures, pedestrian oriented environment. So we have heard some concerns about the campus zoning district. And the first one we've heard for actually quite a while, both internally and externally, and which was confusion over the approach to the permitted uses. The use matrix does not list individual permitted uses, and we'll show you that in a minute. We thought we had a really innovative new approach that really fell flat once it got past our consultant and our immediate team. And a second issue is that there are office uses that are shown on the policy map as being a campus place type or clusters of office uses, but that really aren't part of the institutional campus they may be near. They may serve that, but that suggested a need for a new office district. We had worked with Alicia's group and the UDO team and some others a number of months ago to look at some issues with campus. And one thing that came out was a need for a new office district. So to go backwards, these are the current campus use types. Continuum care retirement communities such as Aldersgate, educational such as Johnson C. Smith, government campus, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Government Center where we are now, medical campus, Atrium Health Maine, office campus, I-77 in Arrowwood, Calvary Church is an example of a religious campus, and the Valerie Woodard Center, a social service campus. So we've had a range of campus uses, and this is actually how we define the uses for our institutional and office flex campus districts initially. And you can see here is the use table. Let me see if I can. And this is the IC1 district, IC2, office flex campus. And you could see that you could have For example, an educational campus could be an IC1 or IC2. And that was really when you had a large educational facility with a lot of supporting uses. And what we had thought would happen is then the zoning administrator would determine, are the uses being proposed for that educational campus tied to the educational campus? And that was the approach that we were proposing. Similarly, for the office flex campus district, you could have a medical campus, and you could also have an office campus. And how that played out is when you came into the use matrix and you were looking at these districts, you could see that the individual uses were not checked. You had to go down to the campus uses that I showed you previously, and that confused people a lot. We would get we have office flex campus, but you haven't checked off that you can have an office use. So we pulled back and have gone through now and identified individual uses for each campus district for IC1, IC2, OFC. We had already done that for the RC or research campus, but now you will be able to go in and find any use and see if it is allowed and if it's allowed by right or with prescribed conditions, as you can see with the PC on this matrix. So anyway, that's the big change for the use table. It may seem kind of minor, but it's a lot of work when you're going through it. And we did add a prescribed condition for many of the uses allowed in the institutional campus 1 and 2 districts to say that that use needs to be related to that major institution. So you may be able to have residential, for example, but it needs to be related to the institution. It's not just turning that campus area into a neighborhood 2 place type. So the second big change with this text amendment is the new OG or general office zoning district. Again, some areas mapped as a campus place type. They're predominantly office. They're not directly related maybe to an institution, but they may serve it. And an example might be, if you think of Randolph Road and a lot of the medical office that's around there serves our 2 major healthcare institutions, but they aren't part of the healthcare institution and they're not technically on their campus. So we thought we needed this new district. And so we have provided it. And we did not find that other zoning districts that we had worked. So bottom line, what we've done is restructure the use matrix to function for all of our campus districts the way all of the other zoning districts work, by showing which individual uses are allowed, when by right or when with prescribed conditions. We've modified prescribed conditions for certain uses in the campus districts to specify the use has to be related to the primary institutional use of that campus. And we have created a new general office zoning district to be used. Where we go from here is we filed again in late December. We will be, we've spoken initially to the UDO Advisory Committee in December, letting them know this was coming, and we'll be talking to them and getting feedback in January, potentially making changes based on that. We will then go to the community for our virtual information and feedback sessions in February. Again, possibly making changes in February from that. We anticipate going to public hearing in March, coming to zoning committee, depending on where that meeting falls, either very late March or very early April, and for a council decision in April. If anyone is interested in getting a preview and looking at this, it is online in our UDO amendment section, and you can see the changes we're proposing are in red with new additions underlined, things that are being removed, proposed for removal, struck through. And I'd be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Laura. We got questions, anybody? Commissioner Russell?
Laura, thank you for the presentation. Quick question for you on the OG. That just sounds weird saying it. The OG.
I expect Flavor Flav to top out at any moment now.
I can bring my giant clock if I need. Is this primarily to make some of the non-conforming office uses conforming, or is this more of an issue of trying to get in front of development? Because I'm curious about if it's trying to get in the way of or get in front of development, as we're not seeing a lot of office, and we probably won't see any office parks that we've seen in the foreseeable future. So I'm just kind of curious, is this to fix a non-conforming issue, or are we doing this to kind of spur development in a certain way?
You're right. It's really not to spur development. It's to have a district though that will work for, it could be used for new development, but for a lot of existing office development that fits with the place type, that the campus, primarily campus place type, but also could be used for commercial place type. For example, there may be a structure that wants to convert, it's on a thoroughfare, arterial, wants to convert from residential to office, an old residential structure. And we've seen some of that. This would provide a district to do that. So could be used in multiple ways, but it's really not pushing new development.
I'm going to go with Stewart and then Blumenthal.
A quick question. The campus designations, sorry, for the OG, would it have a similar allowance for retail and some of the other designations that the campus have as well?
The OG district is one of the campus districts. It has limited allowance for retail, but it's not really intended to be like the commercial district is really much more, commercial districts and commercial place type are much more retail based.
Commissioner Blumenthal.
Again, Laura, thank you for the presentation. And I may have missed you saying this. Is there somewhere on that site an overlay showing what is going to be transitioned from campus to OG?
That would happen during the alignment rezoning process that Dave Patton is leading. So nothing will initially translate from a current district to OG. But in the future, as we're looking at, for example, the area on Randolph Road, that is a lot of medical office, but it's not really on the Novant or Atrium campus, that would likely go to OG.
Sorry, I thought my mic was on. So we're going to create the zoning class, but initially not have any of it implemented.
That's correct. And we have some other districts like that. The IMU district, for example, is not on the ground well, it's now, there've been a few rezonings that have taken it, but a lot of that will happen through alignment rezoning.
Okay.
And someone could use it. They could pursue using it in the meantime.
Okay, understood. I think, my only context there is really and truly, I think that there are very few parcels that need the campus rezoning in town, right? I think that OG or some sort of commercial would be much more beneficial than strictly campus on a lot of these.
The institutional campus districts don't work well for some of these office clusters. That's right.
Right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any others? I think two, Laura. How much area, land, acreage, percentage of the map is going to be affected by this? And it may be a really small amount, but if you say 5% of campus will need to transition, or do you guys know that yet?
What would go to the OG, we don't know yet.
Okay.
But there is a lot of one of the four, 3 of the 4 existing campus districts do not clearly identify uses. So most of the area that has one of the 3, IC1, Institutional Campus 1, IC2, Institutional Campus 2, or OFC, Office Flex Campus, needs clarity on what uses are allowed. So that will have a big impact on hopefully making it a lot easier to understand what uses you can do in those districts.
Okay, I had a conversation with the land development folks over in Elizabeth, and their desire for some of that area not to be campus, quote unquote, was evident in that conversation. And this, I'm wondering if this OG will fix that or if it needs to be something else. And I'm sure they're going to continue that conversation with you guys. It was part of community area planning, so I'm
Sure.
sure that will come through.
That could be a policy map change that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Or OG maybe will help make them feel more comfortable that, depending on what their concern is.
Okay. And second question was, I love government. And that's a preface to where this goes. The prescribed conditions under IC1 and IC2, is that too much? My initial reaction was, do we really need to have prescribed conditions on that? And you guys have done the work, so obviously you came to that conclusion, but I didn't know what feedback you had gotten of whether or not people really wanted to go through prescribed conditions for an art gallery in IC1.
So, and that may have been an older slide. We're still tweaking some of
Okay.
that. Interestingly, we had an email come in late on Friday. We've talked and said, some of these things can go by right.
Yeah.
But we allow restaurants, for example, in IC1 and IC2. And think of your favorite university and plopping a restaurant at the edge of the university across from a residential neighborhood in the middle of what they perceive to be their neighborhood may not go over real well with them. And so, there's some of those uses that really need to relate to that campus and not be just generally floating out there, though they could be used by the community, but not necessarily built for the community primarily, but for the campus primarily.
Thanks. I hear you. And again, this comes from I want the UDO in my mind, it's to make it easier to do these things. And every time I see prescribed conditions, I just see that as kind of like a speed bump, you guys have more interaction with this than I do.
Well, and the prescribed conditions don't usually require conditional rezoning. It's just saying this use is fine as long as you have these conditions.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't hold them up as long as they have those conditions.
True. Okay. All right. Lansdale.
It sparked me a question. I apologize for not asking this sooner, but on transportation issues, I tried to pull up one really quick as an example for a medical campus designation. And thinking of the Pineville Matthews Road and Johnson Road, Pineville Medical Plaza. What about the egress and ingress requirements associated with that? So I look at this intersection as a significant one. We have a 4-leg intersection that abuts this campus place type. None of the 4 legs of the intersection have pedestrian crosswalks.
So
On one side, there are 7 lanes of travel, if you count specifically. So understanding how people get in and out of these campus place types is going to be important. It may not be a question for you. Just want to think about that as we look at our campus place types to strengthen those requirements that are associated with the development of these types of facilities.
that all, I'm going to push back a little bit and say that all falls within the subdivision streets and infrastructure section of the UDO. And we're focusing on the zoning piece. So not to say that that isn't valid, but that's the piece that is managed by the subdivision group and largely also by CDOT with those regulations in those later articles. So we're Switzerland on that. We're not going one way or another because it's really well beyond the scope of the zoning piece that we're working on.
Sure. And if I may have a quick follow-up on that, we start doing prescribed uses. I think it's important that we make sure that we connect those 2 sections together so that we're not leaving something behind, so that we're not isolating Switzerland so that nobody else can play a part of that game. Thanks.
Anybody else got questions? This leaves us with the only question that remains is, do you guys know any Swiss OGs? So thank you, Laura, as we go off on our quest for Swiss OGs. We are coming to the latter part of our meeting here where we go around, we talk about what folks have been up to for the last month and the holidays, that sort of stuff. Were there holidays? Everybody did good stuff? No one was arrested or in jail, right?
Don't ask them to.
Okay. Iffy. We're going to begin our journey with Commissioner Seeley over there. And can you tell us what you had as a community interaction? And I'm saying anything about a particular owner of a football team that may be in town is off limits. So go ahead, Commissioner Seeley.
Honestly, I did so much in November and December, I don't remember what all I did.
Thank you. As long as you were out there and doing something great. Commissioner Stewart.
Yeah, Douglas, no, it was mainly in the holidays for me. I wasn't out as much as I'd like to have been, but I will certainly endeavor to do more. in
Okay,
2024.
double down, Commissioner Stewart. Commissioner Lansdale.
I'm gonna get over on that one.
Oh my, this looks like a winner. Commissioner McDonald.
It has been a short month, if you include the holidays. But in Dorada, we do have some action happening, and I did hold the Dorada Matters meeting last week, and we do have some things coming up with a prominent, it's not a rezoning anymore, but a prominent redevelopment, let's say a redevelopment on a prominent site in Dorada that I will be following. But yeah, not much activity so
Okay.
far.
Thank you. Commissioner Winiker.
I saw Commissioner Seeley at an event, the Axios Power Players event. So I can confirm he was there and he was playing power. But I have been following in Chair Welton's wake, so to speak, with a couple of events. They've been a meeting with CDOT, which was very instructive in terms of what is and isn't available to citizens. Also, we were able to follow up with some of the folks doing the design of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library redo and helping to preserve the protection of that bike lane. And that's been very interesting. And also engaging with a number of community or neighborhood associations kind of around where I am on my side of the city. And hopefully that will expand out to larger engagement with more community associations around Center City to talk a little bit more specifically about transportation planning issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wilden.
Hi.
Hi.
So once Thanksgiving happened, it was kind of like I'll circle back after the holidays sort of situation. So now that it's after the holidays, oh yeah, I regret ever saying that now, but so since New Year's, we had rezoning meeting. I have started driving around to some of the rezonings, especially the ones right off of Beatty's Ford Road, which I hope people start saying that correctly because it really gets on my nerves. Anyways, Beatty's Ford. And just because those are within like a 5-mile radius of my house. And then also I've been communicating with some of the folks that we're getting emails from about a rezoning coming up that has a public hearing. I believe it's next week.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, Commissioners. So I too took full advantage of my holiday season and we'll circle back in February.
So yours is December 8th.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Commissioner Blumenthal.
Beyond just some individual meetings with other commissioners and stakeholders in the community, I haven't really done much either.
All righty.
So you didn't do it.
Commissioner Shaw.
So I'll admit, I did not attend our December meeting, so I'm updating for 2 months. So I'm gonna look like a goody goody, but it's really just because it's 2 months of updates. I attended 4, maybe 5 community area planning sessions in November and December, some in person and some virtual, so not all in person. But it was really this has been said before, so but it bears repeating, just really, really impressed with the planning staff, the way it's organized, the way they respond to, comments, whether they're nice or otherwise. Directed at them nice or directed at them not as nice of a tone. And the way that they remained professional, kept on task, stayed until all the sort of neighborhood attendees and stakeholders had been satisfied or had their questions answered, and answered questions that varied from super sophisticated to very sort of simplistic and maybe not as not as in touch with the process. So it was great to see that.
Thank you. Commissioner Harvey.
Nothing new to report.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Gaston.
I had one meeting with Commissioner Blumenthal. That was my whole month and a half.
Excited. Commissioner Russell.
All right, so first of all, you'd be pleased to know that I have continued to ride around with the UDO in the back of my truck along with my Bible.
But everyone, I also want to note that Commissioner Lansdale printed out the streets map, or what is it, the street? Yeah, and he has that. So, I mean, really, can we get a nerdier council here? Thank you very much for the two of you. Go
Yes,
ahead.
You're welcome. And because I have such ready access to it, I have been evolving in my philosophy of planning, which has become very dangerous. So if you want to talk about that offline, I have some interesting ideas I came with over Christmas. And then other than that, just really been talking to some of temperature taking on a lot of potential developments and rezonings in the Northeast Charlotte area. Nothing of significance, but just kind of talking about what's on the ground and what we think would make a nice area. Dorada is one of those that was included in that. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. And I'll fill in the backside of this. There was a little bit of a discussion about this forthcoming Dorada rezoning, which Teresa says is not a rezoning anymore, but a prominent development in Dorada. So I sent out a note to all the commissioners that were roughly in the area, and I'm hoping you guys are going to attend that meeting, or some of you are attending that meeting tomorrow. Isn't it tomorrow? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, tomorrow.
Cool. I did some fun things. Not unlike Aaron, I only did 5 community area planning meetings in November, end of November, December, and I forgot the last one, which I'm not really that sad about. But community area planning, I believe that this commission fully supported community area planning. I was very pleased that whenever I was on a call or at one of the meetings, I was not the only commissioner there. And early on in the process, that was a little bit of the case, but you guys stepped up and took charge of all the meetings, didn't take charge of the meetings, but took charge of being at the meetings. And so I'm very pleased that was the case. I got to spend some time with Evan Kettler, who is on the Elizabeth Neighborhoods zoning and land use committee, and got to walk around Elizabeth. And that was actually very fun in the sense that I got to see on the ground what their perception of the changes that were coming in the neighborhood were. And I'm very pleased that this neighborhood is organized in this way. I wish other neighborhoods were organized similarly. I don't know, because if there is some way that we as a planning department can work with neighborhoods to help them get organized in the way that some of the best neighborhoods in town are organized, I think that would be something that we should try and bring to fruition, because it's good to have educated neighbors making decisions, and you don't get a bunch of emails like some of you may have been receiving recently, and I know I have, and I'll mention that in just a moment. Tomorrow night, I'm partying with the folks down at Steel Creek. Okay. So yeah, living large. I don't know what that means, but there'll be a Zoom call, and I will also, I'm going to speak to their general quarterly meeting at the end of February. So that I will probably need like that hazmat suit or something, I'm not sure. Something that doesn't show tomato stains. But I'm looking forward to just being able to get out there and talk to those folks. You know, I'm trying to talk to as many folks around town as I possibly can. I have been in the last week or so receiving a number of emails regarding a rezoning down on Ray Road. Am I alone? No. Everybody getting some? Isn't that lovely? It is. I'm just saying as a general note to any public that may be listening, individually written emails with some actual facts or things that would help make decisions are very useful. Cut and paste isn't necessarily one of those things. But that rezoning was deferred last month, so I'm not sure when we're going to see that again. That's all from this side of the table. Now, we're on to homework for next month. Next month's meeting, we're going to have NEST, the Neighborhood Equalization and something Stabilization Team Task Force. I don't know what they are. NEST. NEST is coming. Huh, what? Save the old people. Oh, whatever. Commissioner Gaston is a member of NEST. Would you like to tell us what NEST, what you guys, your mission was?
Basically, what we can do to help preserve areas that are transitioning, Charlotte, what kind of opportunities out there, what techniques, changes, laws, amendments.
Okay. And you guys just did, are you preparing a report now, or did you prepare it already? Okay. All right. We'll get an update on that. Oh yeah, turn your microphone on. I'm sorry. It's too late now.
So if I could mention too, so this was one of the committees that came out of the comprehensive plan. So
yeah.
So the neighborhood equitable stabilization committee.
Yeah. And there was another one that came out that I can't remember, and I don't
Development
think they've
Commission.
done anything.
Yeah,
Have they?
they're still meeting too.
Okay.
3-year
All right.
terms for both.
Yeah, the 2040 plan, you guys have heard of this?
Love it.
Love it. I think I said something like it's not an immutable truth, but that may or may not be a good thing to say. Anyway, the 2040 plan happened, and this is one of, so we'll get that. Also, I've asked Dave Pettin, how many titles does Dave have now? And does he have his new title
He
yet?
currently holds 2.
Yeah, okay.
So we're moving forward with getting one of those removed and getting someone else to put that on.
Okay, all right. The last time I talked to him, that wasn't quite done, but I don't know, and whatever, we'll go forward.
Well, last week his title was Birthday Boy
Birthday boy, Dave.
during our zoning meeting.
He's not here. But Dave will come, and you guys have heard the phrase alignment rezoning, right? So the alignment rezoning is going to be, I'm trying to choose a word. I was going to say completed in 2025, but I don't think that's the right word. Allison, help me out. It's going to begin.
So it'll begin this calendar year, but it is something that we will it'll probably take us a couple years, and we still haven't really fully identified the approach. And so that will certainly weigh in on how long it'll take. But the idea is to align the zoning districts with the policy map. So.
All right. And that Dave will give us the entranceway to that. In terms of, it's like the slow moving sidewalk that you get on before you get on the fast moving sidewalk. So that's going to be our February meeting. I think that's about it. Your homework is, and probably a lot of you have seen this book. It's Jeff Speck's book on the Walkable 101, which is a good book because it's like a list of things you do to make your city more walkable. It very much aligns with some of the things that Will was talking about today. I wanted you guys to do this. Again, if you're not doing zoning now, you will be doing zoning in the future. Some of these are very easy things to ask for. Commissioner Lansdale does this all the time. Crosswalks, right? Those words have come out of your mouth before, haven't they? These are the types of things that we can do and ask for in zoning that can make a difference in the city as we go forward. So take a look at Jeff's book. This one's real easy because it is kind of a list. It's a listicle that's a book. If you cannot, of course, read, I provided a link for something so you can watch. Allison, do you have one more thing?
I do. And when you asked me at the beginning of the meeting, do I have anything that I wanted to say? I should have remembered this. So thank you for giving me a minute. There is a public hearing and a decision this evening to amend the resolution, or what we call the little ordinance that adopted the UDO. And the purpose of the amendment is that we've got a couple really large rezoning petitions that are in the queue right now that they submitted before that cutoff date. So they're using pre-UDO zoning districts. The railroad that you mentioned is one of them. That in that resolution, it required all of the projects to have a decision by March the 1st of this year. And so we've heard some concerns from the community saying that they would like some additional time to negotiate and work through challenges and questions, and could we extend that? And so that is what is being proposed tonight, is that we would allow an extension for a city council decision until the zoning meeting in December. However, all of those projects must have had a community meeting and a public hearing by April, so that the community is aware, council's aware of any of these projects that are still out there using pre-UDO districts that have not gotten a decision by council yet. So I'm not sure how that vote's going to go tonight, honestly, but that's
Okay.
that's what is on the agenda. So particularly for the zoning, folks on the zoning committee, I thought that would be
Yeah.
important.
All
to
right,
mention.
I do hope city council actually understands that. And not to say anything, derogatory there, but I've had some of the petitioners talk to me about, well, I'm up against this and, oh, thank God I'm going to get some more time. I am in the position of wanting us to get this done and get it over with personally. So I'm hopeful that they're going to pass this and everybody will line up and get their ducks in a row, and we'll get to the next thing. All right, everybody. Have we got anything else that we need to talk about? I think this meeting will stand adjourned. And what? Oh, yeah, we got meeting. One more thing, calendar. Look at the calendar. Note that next Monday is not an executive committee meeting. It's going to be on Tuesday, because city council meeting is going to be on Tuesday, because Monday's going to be a holiday. And so I hope you all are out holidaying on Monday. And that will be it. Thank you. We'll see you guys sometime soon.
Do we need a motion?
No.
Motion to adjourn, Wilden.
All right. It's we're moved out.